Hi guys, good morning. Today we would discuss clauses in this class. Basically, if we talk about clauses in English grammar, there are three types of clauses in English grammar. First is noun clauses, second is relative clause or adjective clause. It may be called both relative or adjective clause. And third one is adverb clause. There are three types of clauses in English grammar. If we talk about clauses in English grammar, clauses if we want to understand clauses and the basic difference between a clause and a sentence, then we can say that in simple terms, a clause cannot exist alone until it gets connected to a sentence. It means a clause cannot exist alone. It would require a complete sentence, a sentence which is supposed to give a complete sense. Otherwise, it cannot exist alone anywhere in a sentence. There may be one or more than two clauses, but they could not exist until a sentence which is supposed to give complete meaning connect it. So we can say that a clause cannot exist alone in a sentence. It will require a sentence of principal clause. Basically, we have divided clause into two forms: principal clause and subordinate clause. If we talk about principal clause and if we talk about subordinate clause has been divided into three parts, and principal clause is not divided in any type of part. Principal clause is unique in itself. So if we talk about clause, a clause doesn't seem to give any type of complete meaning in itself, but a sentence can give its own complete meaning. This is the basic difference between a clause and a sentence. A clause must have been dependent upon a sentence, but a sentence wouldn't require to be dependent upon any type of clause in a sentence. So we can say that it is necessary for a clause to be dependent upon a sentence, but it is not necessary on the part of a sentence to be dependent on any type of clause. So this is the basic difference between a clause and a sentence in English grammar. So here we want to focus upon those facts in which principal clause and subordinate clause and adjective clause are supposed to work. All three types of clauses cannot exist alone in a sentence. They would require a sentence of principal clause. Principal clause basically refers to a sentence which is supposed to give its complete meaning, but a subordinate clause is not supposed to give its complete meaning. So in case of complex sentences, there is a combination of one or more than one subordinate clauses, but it is necessary on the part of those subordinate clause to have a sentence of principal clause, just in order to give its complete sense or complete meaning. So if we have more than one clauses, we cannot keep all the clauses in a sentence. We cannot make a sentence through the use of all these clauses until we need a sentence of a principal clause. So we can say that in case of complex sentences, we have at least a sentence of principal clause and more than one sentence of subordinate clause. So it is the basic difference between a clause and a sentence. In case of clause, a clause cannot exist alone. but a sentence can exist alone. Although in case of clause there is subject and there is object, but it cannot exist alone, because in case of clause its sense is not complete, but in case of a sentence its sense is totally complete in itself. If here we want to focus upon some sentences, we want to take some sentences of clauses. If I say, because I could not go to school, because I could not go to school, is this giving a complete sense? No, this is not supposed to give any type of complete meaning. Why is this not giving a complete sense? Because if we talk about if we say to anybody, because I could not go to school, then he would ask, why tell me the reason. Because this is not a complete sentence. We cannot say anybody only because I could not go to school. If I say anybody because I could not go to school, he would immediately ask you a question. Why did you not go to school? The person would want the reason behind not to go to school. So we can say that a sentence which is incomplete in itself can be called a clause. But in case of clause, there are three types of its variants. First is noun clause, other is relative or adjective clause, and the third one is adverb clause. Now here the basic question is how to identify a clause in a sentence, whether it is principal clause or subordinate clause, whether it is adverb clause or adjective clause. How to identify a clause in a sentence? This is the question. If we examine clauses, either it is principal clause or subordinate clause or relative clause or adverb clause. If we examine a clause, the main facts would come out, and these main facts would help us in identifying a clause. What are the main facts? How to identify a clause? So if a clause is supposed to be connected with a sentence or principal clause, I repeat, if a clause is supposed to be connected with a sentence or principal clause, then we want to see its meaning. Which type of meaning is supposed to be given here? In simple terms, we can say that we would ask a question. We would ask a question to a sentence or principal clause, and we would notice that its result, if its result is referring to a noun, then we can say that it is a sentence of a principal. It is a sentence. It is a clause of noun clause. It is a noun clause. In simple terms, we can say that it is a noun clause. If its answer would refer to a relative clause, or its answer is referring to a type of relation, or its answer is giving extra information about the main clause of the sentence, then we can say that it is a sentence, it is a clause of adjective, or it is a relative clause. Or if its answer is referring to an adverb, or adverb of time, adverb of reason, adverb of manner, etc., then we can say that it is an adverb clause. So this is the basic pattern how to identify a clause in a sentence. In other words, we can say that we would have to ask only a simple question to the main clause of the sentence, and its answer If its answer is referring to a noun, then we can say that it is a noun clause. If its answer is referring to an adjective, then we can say that it is an adjective clause. If its answer is referring to an adverb, we can say that it is an adverb clause. This is the basic the basic rule through which we can identify a clause in a sentence. So now here we are going to take some examples to prove this. If I say, he is Mohan. He is Mohan. Is this sentence complete? Yes. This is a complete sentence and it is giving its full sense or its full meaning. Because subject and verb are supposed to make a complete sentence. And here there is subject, he is helping verb or main verb, he is Mohan, then our sentence is right. If I say, Mohan was calling me, is this sentence correct? Is this sentence giving its complete sense? Yes. This sentence is giving a complete sense. Reading is good. Reading is good habit. Can we say that this sentence is giving its complete sense? Yes. This sentence is giving its complete sense. Here we have used reading. As we already know that subject and object are always noun or pronoun. No matter which form of noun they are taking place, it's no matter. Here reading is working as a participle in the sentence. So participle are also parts of a noun. They can behave like a noun in the sentence. So here reading is a good habit. Reading is working as a participle. Reading is working as a gerund. Here gerund. Gerund can work on the place of a noun and it can behave like a noun in the sentence. So here gerund, reading is good habit. Reading is working as a gerund. As we already know that gerund is a part of noun and they can become a subject and object in a sentence. If I say, he is Mohan, who is Ram's brother. Is this sentence complete? Yes. This is giving complete sense. And it is a combination of subordinate clause and main clause. Now, I would like to take some examples of noun clause. If I say a sentence, can you guess what I have in my pocket? Can you guess what I have in my pocket? If I say only, can you guess? Can you guess? Is this given a complete sense? Yes. It is a question. It is a question and is complete in itself. Can you guess? This is a complete meaning. If what I have in my pocket? What I have in my pocket? If I say to anybody, what I have in my pocket? What I have in my pocket. This is not giving a complete sense. Is this given a complete sense? No, this is not giving a complete sense. That is why we can say that it is a sentence of noun clause. Because It is it is referring to a noun. Can you guess? Its answer may be a noun or a pronoun in the sentence. Can you guess? And answer, what would be its answer? Its answer would be noun or pronoun. Can you guess? What? And answer of what is always a noun or a pronoun. Then we can say that this is a sentence of, this is a noun clause. In simple terms, we can say that we would have to ask only a simple question to the main clause of the sentence. And its answer, if its answer is supposed to refer to a noun or a pronoun, then it would be a noun clause. I would like to take some other examples. I can do whatever I want to do. I can do whatever I want to do. Is this sentence giving complete sense? Yes. This sentence is complete in itself because it is combination of principal clause and subordinate clause. Is the subordinate clause referring to a noun or a pronoun? Yes. This is referring to a noun. I can do. What I can do? What? And its answer is always a noun or a pronoun. What? I can do. What can do? What you can do? And its answer is noun or pronoun. Everyone can easily understand that you don't know the answer. Everyone can easily understand. This is a sentence of principal clause and is supposed to be connected with a noun clause. And noun clause, that you don't know the answer. You don't know the answer. That you don't know the answer. If we ask a simple question to I don't know. If we ask a simple question to everyone can easily understand. Everyone can easily understand. The question will arise in our mind. What? What can be easily understood by everyone? And its answer will be a noun, either a noun or a pronoun. So we can say that it is a noun clause. Next, I can tell you. I can tell you how he does this magic. I can tell you. I would have to ask only a simple question to the main clause of the sentence. What? I can do. I can tell you. I can tell you. What? What you can tell? So its answer will be a noun or a pronoun. And its answer is noun or pronoun would refer only to a sentence, only to a noun clause. So this is the basic difference. And here we have told you the basic pattern how to identify a noun clause in a sentence. Next, we are going to take relative clause or adjective clause. Adjective clause or relative clause, both are the same. If a subordinate clause is supposed to show any type of relation with the main clause of the sentence, we can say that it is a relative clause or relative clause or adjective clause. So here we want to take some examples. If I say those students who focused on their studies, those students who focused on their studies sincerely passed the exam. Here, in this sentence, there are two clauses. One is the sentence of principal clause, and other is the sentence of subordinate clause. And the sentence of subordinate clause is supposed to connect itself with a sentence of principal clause. And here both sentences are connected with each other. And this is, we can say that this is a complex sentence. So, first of all, we want to identify our sentence of principal clause. Here we can say that those students who focused on their studies sincerely. Who focused on their studies sincerely, this is incomplete in itself. If I say who focused on their studies sincerely, we would ask question, what, who? And here we would like to associate the sentence with a sentence of principal clause to just in order to be given a complete sense. Those students who focused on their studies sincerely passed the exams. Here the sentence of principal clause is those students passed the exam. Those students passed the exam. Those students here is working as a subject in the sentence. Past is working as a verb in the sentence. So if we talk about those students, those is working as a demonstrative pronoun, demonstrative adjective here, and the student is working as a noun here. Work is working as a verb here. So who focused on their studies sincerely. Here this sentence is showing its relation, and the sentence is giving extra information of the main clause of the sentence. So in case of adjective clause and or relative clause, where we can use a comma or where we cannot use a comma, this is the question here. In case of relative clause, if the noun used just before WH word is showing its relation, and for your context information, I want to inform you that if the noun is a common noun, and common noun would require identification, but in case of proper noun wouldn't require any type of identification. They would need elaboration. So in case of elaboration we can use a comma, but in case of identification of the noun used just before WH word, we wouldn't require to use any type of comma there. In case of identification, we cannot use a comma, but in case of elaboration, we can use a comma there. This is the basic difference. So, in case of relative clause or adjective clause, a clause is supposed to show its relation with a noun clause, with the sentence of noun clause. in the case, if I say those students passed the exam, those students passed the exam, this is giving complete sense. And other word is who focused on their studies sincerely, who focused on their studies sincerely. Here we are not familiar with those students. About whom are we talking about here? No, we don't know. And those student is referring as a referring to a noun. And in case of noun, in case of common noun, we want elaboration. We don't want elaboration. We want identification. So in case of identification, we cannot use a comma, but in case of elaboration, we can use a comma in the sentence. So in case of this sentence, those students passed the exam who focused on their studies sincerely. Here we cannot use a comma because here we need identification, not elaboration. He is my brother, whom you had rejected in the interview last year. The sentence is, he is my brother. Here, everybody is familiar with his brother. So here, with brother, we cannot make an identification. We would need elaboration of the brother. Elaboration means some extra qualities, to reflect some extra qualities of a noun or pronoun in the sentence. So here we can use a comma. He is my brother, whom you had rejected in the interview last year. The sentence, whom you had rejected in the interview last year. This sentence is referring to a sentence of principal clause, just in order to show its relation. About whom are we talking about? Who had been rejected in the interview last year? My brother. So, my brother, he is my brother. It is a complete sense, and it is supposed to be connected with a clause, and this clause is a clause of adjective or a relative clause. I would like to take some other examples. Nitin, whose father passed away this month, is a brilliant student. Nitin, whose father passed away this month, is a brilliant student. Nitin, we are familiar with Nitin. So Nitin is a proper noun. So in case of proper noun, we wouldn't need an identification of the noun. We would require only an elaboration of the noun. So here we can use a comma. Nitin, after Nitin we can use a comma. Whose father passed away this month. Here if I say whose father passed away last month, is this sentence complete? No, this sentence is not complete. So this sentence would require a sentence of principal clause. So here this sentence is showing its relation, and it is supposed to be related with a sentence of principal clause, and this sentence is giving an extra information of a sentence of principal clause. So we can say that this is a relative clause or adjective clause. Next, he loves Bihar, where he was born and spent his entire childhood. Here, he loves Bihar, this is giving a complete sense. But after it, where he was born and spent his entire childhood. This sentence, this clause is showing its relation with a sentence of principal clause. And this relation is referring to an adjective, because it is displaying some extra information of the sentence of principal clause. So we can say that it is an adjective or relative clause. Next, I have a cute toy. I have a cute toy that I have a cute toy that my father had gifted me when I was a kid. Here, every part of sentence is supposed to show its relation, their relation with the sentence of principal clause. So we can say that this clause is this clause can be kept under the category of adverb, relative clause or adjective clause in the sentence. So this is taking too much time. So here we are going to end our class now. We would meet in our next class with and I would take adverb clause in the next class. So here I would have to close the class now. Thank you.